Thank you very much. And as I think I'm going to stay here. That's Michael said. Too much passion without skill is dangerous. I don't know how to handle the microphone, so that's why it's very hard. And well, it's very hard to follow Michael Fullen, as you can see. Michael is giving you a lot of work to do. And you got to go home, make some changes, and then follow him this afternoon after lunch will be Jay McTighe. Jay will be as equally informative and knowledgeable and help you to think a lot. So I'm really in the middle to entertain you, to make you laugh. I have, but I don't know how to do that, because I know Argentines cannot handle jokes. You're not very good at this, so that's going to be very challenging. What I have done is that I have put all the slides on my website, which you can find. You can download the slides. That's I just learned from Michael. I just did that fast after coffee, so you can. And I have created a lot of slides. I can show you. I've done the work. See how many slides I have? So I'm going to read line by line. That's going to go out till after tomorrow. I'm going to finish that. But don't worry. If you like to tweet, you can feel free to tweet. But I know it won't work because the network is so slow anyway. So you can't tweet and don't do any of those work. I want to start by. I was trying to play with this network. I was trying to play with the Google Earth. You guys play with Google Earth? You know where you are? All right, so I was trying to play with Google, trying to find where I come from. I can't find it, so so I don't know where I'm from. Without Google, you don't know where you are. Okay, that's I'm trying to find China. So where is China? You can play around somewhere here. So I can't find them. Then I was thinking about. I found this a number of things was really interesting. Perspectives, how we think about others, always matters in our life, right? So this is the Chinese view of other people. That's how we think about other people. That's how we Chinese think about it. But this is the Asian view of others. So your perspective determines what you do. Okay, this is a mindset about other people. So I said, okay, that's too self-centric. I don't like live in China. I moved to America, so I lived in America for a long time. And this is the American view of others. So we're like this. So that's why we think we are. Okay. That's no. But remember this. No more laugh. That's enough. That's enough. Now I was going to show you how we're all self-centric. Do you notice that? America's a land of awesome. I'm sure if I ask you to draw a map like this, if you are from Brazil or from Ecuador, how would you draw? How would you title your neighbors? Have you thought about that? That would be interesting to think about. So this is our mindset. It's also a paradigm we operate with. Because how you think about others really determines your actions. When we talk about leadership, talk about teachers, students, different roles. So speaking of paradigm, we have different paradigms determines our action. So think about another paradigm I'm going to show you that's kind of interesting. I've been playing with. So this is another we think about. You look at this. Is the sunset or sunrise? Do you know? No? Well, it doesn't really matter. That's a bad question. So the reason I want to bring this to you is that it's basically a geocentric view. We look at the sun. We think we are the center of the universe. Remember that? The sun rises and sun sets for us. It's pretty cool, and I like to think like that. And it's actually a paradigm that dominated for a long time. It worked fine. Remember those long time? My father, who is born and still in a Chinese farm, on a Chinese farm right now. When he knows sun rises, I go out to work, and sun sets, I go home. It's pretty good. Works beautifully as a paradigm. But if he was going to think about, I want to build a spaceship to get to the moon, it's hard. This won't work. You know, when I launch it, sunset or sunrise, it might be different, right? So it has to change the paradigm to one that might work better. It's like this. So now in education, do we think about paradigm shift? I think a lot of times we are very busy working hard to make our schools and our classrooms more effective and much better. But the question is to say effective in doing what? Right? Did you think about effective in doing what is very interesting? And when I was a long time ago, I was in South Africa. I saw this, there's an advertisement at the airport. And so this at the airport, and this is in Cape Town, South Africa. So I arrived there. I was waiting for luggage. I said, "What the heck is this?" I had no idea. So I took down the picture, and they have been using it to test people's knowledge. It's advertisement of a product. Do you know what the product is? No. Can you make a guess? Who said that? You are so right. You're correct. You are the kind of most correct person. But but without imagination. It's when I showed this the first time I showed this photo was in actually Queensland, in Australia, in Brisbane. So that got a bunch of about 2,000 teachers in Queensland, Australia. And so their first response is the product is not the GPS, is Viagra. I tell you, Australians have a lot more imagination than you, but it's wrong. And no, it is actually a GPS. I've been following this, trying to understand. GPS is a great technology, right? It's very effective. It can get you where you want to go. But the question is that, do you know where you want to go? Right? If you don't know where to go, no matter how effective the technology is, it does not make sense. Now, if you think education, schooling as a technology, do we know what kind of outcomes we want in our students? So this is, this is the second one. That's how the second pan of the advertisement. And they have another one that said, okay, now you know this. And now if you don't know where you want to go, where do you get to? You said, we'll go to here. So, if we do not know where we want to go, we might end up nowhere working so hard at something. So here comes the question. I had an interesting question. I've been studying something actually quite fun to me recently. I've been thinking about this. And do you guys, how many of you still have a Nokia phone? Nokia phone? A Nokia, do you still use a Nokia? You still use it? Okay. Oh, fine. That's okay. And you don't. See, that's right. You don't use it. Now, this is the Nokia phone history. Do you remember those things? Remember this history? Do you remember those phones? 2004. Remember those times? And before the iPhone was invented, Nokia was the largest phone maker. Today, it's practically dead. Do you notice that? Phones. Who killed Nokia? Who killed Nokia? Samsung. Well, most people think Steve Jobs did it before he died, but actually Nokia is really funny right now. It's so bad. Nokia is bought by Microsoft recently, and you can saw the profit share. It's a Nokia dropped quickly. Apple emerged. So why? What happened to Nokia? Well, the answer is that Nokia killed Nokia. Because Nokia actually came up with a smartphone idea way before. They were working on the smartphone. They had App Store. They had everything, but they killed it. Why? Because they did not know where they want to go. They did not recognize Apple as a serious threat. And at that time, Nokia's profit come from dumb phones, not smartphones. So they were trying to capitalize on their success. Make them more successful. So they were trying to make a dumb phone smarter. So that's what they were trying to do. Do you remember they were adding those little pictures up there, adding those things there, but they never start to make smartphones. Mindset, and paradigm. They will make a dumb phone smarter, but not a smartphone. So what happened to them is they were doing the wrong thing more right. Now in education, do we do that? Do we do the wrong thing more right? Or are we trying to do the right thing? And what is the right thing to do today is very important. So I'm going to pose some other questions. Nobody dies now in this case, okay. The big problem is that most people do not recognize that the Stone Age did not end because they ran out of stones. Okay? You remember that? Okay. It's very important. This is from a Saudi Arabia oil minister. The oil age might end before we run out of oil. Okay. And so schools may run out of students may end before we run out of students. That's possible, right? So let's think about this one idea. What changes? Something big changes. Okay, here we go. And how many of you think about your own children? Do you have children yourself? Okay, I thought you're busy with other people's children. You may not have time to make your own babies. But if you do, as I do, and we do, and my wife is here too, as I do, I want to show you that someone said, I got to show you this. This is my daughter. So I want an education for her as much as I want education for other people. I think every educator should be very honest. Whatever you want for your children should be the education for other people's children. So now in that case, do you want your children to go to college? You really want your children to go to college? Why? Why do you want to go to college? It's a waste of money. No. By the way, actually, economists study now, raising children is no longer good business. They said you don't get the return. That's challenging. But now, if I show you some data, would you still want your kids to go to college? In the U.S., about 53% of college student graduates do not have a job. Do you have basement in South America? No, you don't have basement? That's the problem. In America, we keep our kids in our basement. They never leave. That's the problem. So you're smart. You're very clever. No basement, So in America, we always say, how do you make sure we move our kids out of our basement, And now they have a new term called the boomerang kids, like Australian boomerang. Your kids go out, they come back to live with you. And they never leave. That's the problem. Because they can't have a job to be independent. I know you love your children, but you still want them to have an independent life, right? And we used to think college, university leads to a successful life, independence, career. And this is not only America. This is a global phenomenon. The youth unemployment, children in China, in Korea, I was just in Australia, and actually Canada, UK, we have a huge youth unemployment problem right now. But remember, we have the best educated generation of children in human history. They're better educated, they're more educated than ever their predecessors, but now somehow it's not working for them. They have no jobs. What's going on? Why are our children in our basement? So when you are trying to make your children ready for college, I would challenge you to say, you should make your children ready to move out of your basement. That's out of basement readiness is more important than college readiness. And then at the same time, we saw underemployment in most developed countries. A lot of our children, when they graduate from college, they are employed. Even when they're employed, it's underemployment. Half of American children, college graduates, are working on jobs that do not require a college degree. So now when you go visit America, there are a lot of college graduates working on what? In Starbucks. There are a lot of taxi drivers working in Walmart, all those places. So America can boast today, we have the best educated generation of bartenders. Really, but they don't make better cocktails. So Doesn't matter. So that's one challenge. Number one, education challenge. Number two, however, when we have so many college students unemployed, we have, by the way, I was going to show the European unemployment problem is as high. But at the same time, globally, we have a paradox that we need a lot of talents. There is a global talent shortage. Can you believe that? Companies are complaining that we don't have the people to work for us. You say, what do you mean? We have so many people graduating without jobs, and you said you can't find the right people? In China, the Chamber of Commerce for the US businesses in China, they said their biggest challenge in China is to find the talent. So they have a talent shortage. You remember China has 1.3 billion people. And we graduate 7 million students each year from universities. 7 million, that number? And they said they can't find people to work for them. So I think it's an interesting paradox. So why is that paradox? At the same time, I've run into people who get people like this, who have actually healthy jobs. This guy, Suhas Gopinath, he's an Indian kid. He's founded his company when he was 14. Not coming from a business background, not went to college. He basically was working on a kind of internet cafe and founded a company to run websites for American companies. It was illegal to register his company in India. He had to do it in America. He became youngest CEO. He employs a lot of people, including his teacher, who failed his math test. And he was very good. And so he was doing great. He mean, not only created jobs, opportunities for himself, but for other people. Remember, we have college students unemployed. Then I run into this kid in Amsterdam. He's from Spain. Remember, Spain has a very high unemployment rate. And when he was like 16, he invented this thing called the nutcase. That's the thing for your iPad. And it was very cool. He gave me one, so I cannot use it now. He's just very cool. And then he hired his father to run his multi-million-dollar company while he leisurely goes to college. And it was very interesting. And so I've run into a lot of these people. What happened in these places? They're all over the place, the story. So what is going on? I want my daughter to be out of my basement. Whatever to do. She may go to college, she may invent something like this, happy to operate a company for her if that works for her. Whatever is going to happen. So that's the thing about paradigm shift. Are we preparing the right talent? So when you go to college, every school today is trying to instill in our children a set of knowledge and skills that we think are going to work for everybody, for the future. That's what we do, right? We have a lot of exams. We have the IB, the AP, we have the GCSE, we have Cambridge, all those things. They're supposed to measure valuable skills that will work in life, that will be useful in the future. All our children, in many ways, they've done that. The ones who went to college, they've done a good job. They mastered that, they were ready, but when they graduate, they don't have the job to give them independence. What is wrong? So I would like to see, maybe they were learning something that become outdated. Maybe they're still looking at the sunrise, sunset when they need to build a spaceship to do something else. Maybe they're still thinking they're self-centric, we still have to work, we are the best people, others are not, like the Chinese or Americans. Maybe we have to rethink about this issue. What works? And then, give you a little story. This was, you know what this is, right? It's a stone axe. Stone axe. There was a tribe in Queensland, northern Queensland, in Australia, and Ear-Yoran tribe. That's called Ear-Yoran tribe. They were very proud. To be successful in this tribe, you have to learn to make stone axes. This takes a lot of knowledge. This is like your IB English. Okay, it's for diploma. Okay, or it's very hard to do this thing. You have to pick the right stone. It takes years to master the skill, and only men can do this. Women and children are not allowed. So this is not even allowed. So this is like high level math. They actually made it work. So it's the most important curriculum they have to do. Children have to pass this adulthood to learn how to do this. And then the missionaries came. So they brought in steel axes. Okay, they brought in steel. And when they first introduced the village, they want to give to the elderly, the people, powerful people, school principals mostly, they give to the headmasters, give to them. And the headmasters say, no, we don't want that. I have my college degree, I have a master's degree, I know how to make my stone axes, don't need this. Who cares about this stuff, because it's so easy, you can buy one, so cheap. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't take time to do it. So these people said, fine, don't have it, I'll give to the women. So I give to the women, give to the children. And the women and children now, with this, you can imagine, cut down more brushes, cut down more trees, become more productive. This causes what means is obsoleted. This technology made the other technology obsolete. The knowledge of making the other technology is obsolete. So can we say our college have been giving our children the knowledge that has become more obsolete, that we need to teach them something else? So maybe our children were not poorly educated. They were, or they are, miseducated. They are educated for an economy that no longer exists. Then how do we respond to that? How to respond to that? This is actually interesting. And so if you look at the people who are kind of interesting and useful, a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old has become valuable. And then, so many college graduates don't have jobs. Then but people like, yesterday I showed some about this. Kim Kardashian has a job. Right? Can you believe she can have a job? It's amazing. And she has made actually lots of jobs. She doesn't need a job, I met her really once. This is a real story. But she never met me. That's the problem. I saw her. I saw her in Melbourne, Australia, of all the places. I was doing a presentation near the Crown Plaza. Michael, you might have been there. The Crown, I think, near the Melbourne Convention Center. So we were staying in one of the hotels. I was with Andy Hargreaves. Actually, we saw her. Well, we were kind of kicked out of the elevator. They just fine. And then, so I came out and said, the people said, Kim is here. That we have there's a lot of children, teenagers hanging outside. Like you guys were so busy, crowded like that. Like just what you did, but not for coffee, but for her. I said, who, I thought they were for me. I was trying to guess. No, nobody. And so I said, okay. So what are you doing? They said, waiting for Kim. I said, okay. So I had no idea who she was. Okay. So I talked to my daughter, my daughter, she's 16. She was last year, 2 years, 14. But she knows a lot of things about these people. And so she's my pop culture consultant. I pay her to do that. And so I asked her, who is Kim? My daughter said, what's Kim Kardashian? I said, why are people following her? My daughter said, well, because she's a celebrity. I said, a celebrity for what? My daughter said, nothing. And Kardashian is a celebrity for nothing. And if you try to, you know who she is, right? Okay. But she's really, that's true. She is famous for being well known. Right? That's what she does, right? So she offers nothing. Nothing. So it's really troublesome. We spend so much time passing so many exams. We go there. No, God, this person has a job. We don't have a job. This is troublesome. So now you begin research. What really happened? What has changed in our society? What has changed in our society? Okay. Kardashian, by the way, is not the most useless person. There are many more useless people who have become useful. It's many more. It's I risk saying this. America, football players, they were useless people before. Really? Do you think? Now how much money they make? Because I don't like sports. I'm always fascinated by how much Gabriel just introduced me. Just loved it. He was so jumpy when the Argentina game was played with I think Netherlands was. I said I can never understand it. Bunch of people on the road kicking each other. What's the point? But we like it. But they had talent that was never valuable before. Do you notice that how they were not valuable before? So well, now we say something very simple. From stone axe to steel axe, some skills became obsolete and other skills become more valuable. And how do we understand that? So what has been the massive change? The massive change is actually much simpler than what we think. Number one, right? Do you know that? You know how many, you know there's people here? And you do not see them here. Right? You notice that? You know, in America, actually, where we have, when I first arrived in America in 1990s, I saw a lot of people doing tax accountants. Do you guys pay tax here? Okay, you do. Okay, fine. Okay, so if you do, you know tax accountants. There's a company called H&R Block. Those people used to set up desks in a shopping mall. So I used to see them. I had no idea why they were there, because in China we didn't pay tax. You know, well, we didn't have money to pay tax. The government said they give you something allowance to live. That's all. And so it's a very different scheme. We have no tax. But today, those tax accountants have all disappeared. They're back in the office. They're reduced because of TurboTax. You know TurboTax? It's an online software, online piece of software you file online. It's 1999, they solved the problem. That's what you don't need. And America recently, I saw I run into some law firms. They said, you know, we got a surplus of law school graduates. You know, in America, we have a surplus of lawyers. It's almost impossible. But you know, we're still suing each other as much as possible. But we don't need as many lawyers. It's a very simple thing. A lot of law school graduates did research, and before they had to go through books and books and cases and cases. Now you have Google, you have search engines. Do you remember the time how hard it is to search without a Google? Right? You know, so now it takes more time. So that's very simple. Machines replace a lot of people, and this is we call the arrival of the second machine age. The second machine age. We arrived. Machines. So now, ask yourself, are you teaching your students, your children, skills that can be replaced by machines? Machines become more and more sophisticated. If a job can be parsed or broken down into steps and steps, no matter how complex it is, it can be computerized. If it can be computerized, someone will computerize it. That's how we'll lose that. So that's the number. Number two problem is what we call the age of globalization. Things have changed a lot. That is, now we are talking about jobs can be sent anywhere, the arrival of the flat world. That's the second thing. That means jobs can be done, performed globally. So if the skill can be acquired and offered less expensively in another location in the world, because the transaction cost is so low, it will be done in other places. You're going to see a lot of jobs shifted. Americans have been blaming Chinese for taking their jobs away for a long time. Now Chinese are blaming the Vietnamese for taking their jobs away. You know, and Vietnamese are going to blame the Cambodians. It's very just goes around. It's the whole thing. This just happens all the time. It's just just some jobs go around. So your skill is on global market. Are we doing those kind of things? So now, with all that said, this brings us to another interesting question, to say, what is going to happen in our society? And now we see problems in the US already. US problem is that we see the disappearance of the middle class. You know, that they widen the income gap. We have problems right now. The rich getting richer, actually it's not that issue. It's the top income brackets people is growing and the bottom is growing. The middle is disappearing. The middle class jobs were traditionally our educational jobs. The bottom is the people who are working in the service sector. You know, coffees, what's kind of sweeping your floor, doing all this. The top income group is whom? That's what we are trying to track down. How do we recreate the middle class? That means give our children a future. What skills? So it was, now I think Michael's colleague at University of Toronto has come up with some of the diagrams. Richard Florida, that's another Americans went to Canada, and so it was. So look, some of this historical trends. It's very interesting. look at the proportions of our jobs in our economy, we started with about 200 years ago. We started 1800, 200 years ago. The green ones are the fishing and farming and forestry. That's where my father, my parents were in a village. They work on those things. They were mostly, a lot of them. Remember, those skills become less valuable once you move to industrialization. Then we become employees. We become workers for other people. Then today you see a sharp decline around 1950s of the so-called working class. So on the rise is the service class and the creative class. So what if we think creative class is the new middle class? You know, looks like we're going to have a lot. So who are the creative class? They're not only people who sit there, imagine something. They are the musicians, artists. They are the creative chefs, the cooks. They are the people who create entertainment. They are the people who create new products, new services, all the inventive things. So now creativity becomes something that's very important. Now we like creativity, but you know, for a long time, we have not valued creativity very much in our life. So, you know, we began to talk about creativity only in recent years. And for example, if you go to creativity, I just went to Google. If you go to Google, it's very interesting. If you want to play with Google, you can look at creativity in all the Google books. If you go there, type in one word, you'll find out how often and when it was written about, appeared. You can see creativity here did not even appear until after 1920s as a concept. People did not even talk about it. It's creativity. And most often we don't like creative people. You know, creative people are troublesome people, right? You don't like creative kids, you like kids like this? You say, well, yeah, man, that's not in my classroom. We like you, but go to another class. But no. So but we have been writing about children for a long time. So if you compare children and the creativity, so you see the bottom line, creativity over there, you can barely see it. We have written a lot about children and education, but not about creativity. So remember your books, you've read a lot about education. Education is not about cultivating creativity. It's about stifling it. You want to make sure they're not creative. That's what we've been doing. So most of the books is about classroom discipline, effective classroom management. Remember those kind of things? So as a result, our traditional model of education, paradigm of education, does a beautiful job in making sure our children's creativity declines, so they become good students. So today, if you look some of this data, creativity declines sharply after the students come to school. So age 5, like a lot of your kids, you remember, if you have children come to school at age 5, 98% of them are creative at the genius level. They're not only creative, but they are very creative at a genius level. You know this, right? Kids come to a class, and they say, well, be a good student. I'll be a good student. I sit like this. I turn in homework. We call that school ready. You know, you're ready for school now. You don't talk. You listen to the teacher. You bring your homework, and boom, we are good. And students become really, really school ready after 5 years in our school. By the time age 10, only 32% measures at the same level. We call divergent thinking. This is one way of measure. Remember, we've successfully got rid of 60% of those people, those creative people. So that's pretty good. And, you know, everybody, you know, we've done a beautiful job. They become good students. Remember, that's 5 years. And this we call about fourth grade or third grade. There's the global phenomena called the fourth grade slump, which have a sharp decline of our kids' creativity. You probably noticed that in your school. You know, notice your kids when the third and fourth grade changes. Then they go to middle school. They go there by the time they reach age 15, got 10% left. It's quite shocking. That means we've been very effective schools. We've done that, you know. And so there's somebody traces this. It's longitudinal. They said, well, if we move on, by the time we reach age 44, 2% left. Good news.
Your creativity can bounce back when you retire. So you have hope. You have hope. Just as proof. Just as proof. You know, we have America has a president called George Bush. Remember George Bush? George Bush now is retired, but he's painting. Yeah, you know, right? So if George can regain his creativity, anyone can do it. Right? You can regain your creativity. You can do a good job. Now, there are several points here. Okay. Number one, our traditional school is not about creativity, because creativity was not very valuable. Do you notice most of our industries traditionally were created by outcasts, by people who dropped out of school. They were not there. So those were accidental successes. They become entrepreneurs, they become creators, all those things. We prepare a lot of people to be employed by those people. So we train them to gain employee skills, not employment skills. So this is something, the fact that creativity can bounce back means creativity is psychological and cognitive. Means do you think you can be creative? Do you think you can be brave enough to try something different? So what is the traditional education paradigm? This is the paradigm we've been following. The old geocentric paradigm of education was like this, was that we think, this is what all our schools try to do today. Our schools start with employable skills or valuable skills or knowledge. Then we prescribe that through our curriculum. And you have the Argentine curriculum. Almost every government is a curriculum. Every school has a curriculum. Every organization has a curriculum. The IB, the AP, you know, like in the GCSE. I know you're sponsored by them. No criticism, you know, they're good. They're necessary evils, but they're good. You know, just, you know, yeah. Necessary evils can be good. Okay, but that's fine. Now, when we prescribe this, what are we doing? Do you guys know what we're doing? We prescribe the outcome. We're doing something good. We tell you these skills and knowledge will be valuable for you in life in the future. Therefore, we prescribe literacy, numeracy, science, social studies. Remember, we make a decision. We just say these are the core curriculum. In America, we have now today something called the Common Core Curriculum. It's not only core, it's common. Okay, coming across. And what do we have? We have two subjects, numeracy and literacy. They're trying to add something else. So we make a decision. But when you make that decision, what you're trying to do, when you include something, you exclude something. You can say knowledge themselves, all it has equal value. But when you prescribe something, you're determinist to say, this is more valuable than something else because you're going to devote more time, more energy, more resource to it. Your students spend more time doing this. And then we use them as gatekeepers. If you can't read, can't do anything else. Remember, we have those rules, right? It says, if you cannot read, we shame you and we don't allow you to do anything else until you can read. We have been very responsible educators. Remember, that's what we're trying to do. All those, and then, but we make that determination, then you try to verify by exams. Remember, those have the different standardized exams, so we make sure that every year you master what I want you to do. So this is, we want to produce good employees. We verify that. By the way, did you guys notice about this age growing? By year 7, you should know this much. By year 8, you should know this much. Do you know how absurd that is? Look at your height. You're different height, right? So even if you want children, if Argentina government said, I want to be very responsible for the health of our children measured by height. And so I want to make sure every child is 5 feet tall by age 7. If not, I'm going to hold the parents accountable. Well, what are you going to do? So the parents have to be fired, or you send them to Brazil. Maybe that's another idea. So it's a different solution. So, but when you do this, then our goal of this school is to reduce human diversity, is to ensure children are homogeneously educated. So when you do that, we also know that very well we have people talk about multiple intelligences. Do you remember that time that Howard Gardner talks about different intelligences? We have, do you remember this? You must have seen this wheel right somewhere, right? You know what this will sometimes gives this misperception? You think you're talented in every area? No, this is all human beings, not you. Okay. Individually, you can be strong in a few areas, but you cannot be great in every area. This is really bad for us to think. Okay, I'm sorry to break the bad news, that you cannot be great in every area. You cannot be great at everything. If you were, we would call you God. Since we don't call you God, you better accept the fact you cannot be great in everything. Okay, so that's the challenge. So you have people who are great in different areas. Now our model is trying to say, no, unless you're great in what I think you should be doing, you'll be useless. But now the problem is this. That model I showed you probably doesn't work anymore. That model that trying to reduce. Because this model relies on very, very clever, smart, wise determination of what's valuable. You must be able to predict the future. If you cannot predict the future, it won't work. Right? So and now today with technology changing so fast, we even don't know what career exists in next 10, 20 years. While with globalization, jobs move around, how can you make a prediction? Now, of course, we can say, well, human beings, we have something fundamental. We have transferable skills. Yes, there are certain things that may be transferable. So now we come with the idea called 21st century skills. Do you guys know 21st century skills? By the way, we are almost 22nd century now, but we're still talking about that. That's fine. It's a 21st century skill is good. And so we have how many? There are 4 C's, 5 C's, 10 C's, 20 C's, right? Did you hear of those things? Oh, the 4 C's is critical thinking, creativity. Oh, just come. You can come up 20 C's. That's it. What I want to point out is that even creativity has to be domain specific. What we mean is in this model, we measure your ability to meet expectations. How well can you answer my questions? In teaching, we do this all the time. Students, it's a very interesting exercise. It's like employment. Kids come to school, you check in at 9 o'clock, you do this work, you go home, you get an A. Remember those things? And you have to answer the question, I tell you. Education is the most absurd way of dealing with kids. We never want their answer anyway, but we pretend we want their answer, and their answer is we just judge if the answer meets my expectation, right? Did you try this one? Like shows, well, what's the capital of Argentina? The kids may say Bogota. You said wrong answer. Do you ever ask that question that you don't answer to in life? Like you ask your spouse, your husband, say, where do you want to go to restaurant? Where are you going to go for dinner? Well, let's go to Kansas. So, wrong answer. Let's pick another one. You don't do that in life, right? But in school, reward kids for giving back our answers. Remember, we don't have really genuine interest in what they do. So they come here to do. So you homogenize the answer this one, then we discriminate those kids who cannot answer this. Some kids who are unwilling to play the game said, I don't care, I want to write my novel. Someone said, I want to write music. Someone said, I want to dance, but no, you're not useful. Remember, you don't meet my expectations. This was very useful before. The model worked very well, this paradigm, like geocentric. Because in the industrial age, we need a lot of people with similar skills. We need a lot of people who want to comply. Remember, I saw, you know Lady Gaga, right? You know Lady Gaga? I was thinking Lady Gaga would be useless for Henry Ford. Think about that, because she doesn't comply. If she doesn't comply on the assembly line to put cars together, that's a problem. Okay, you want people to comply, and we want people to have knowledge at the basic mediocre level, not great. So therefore, you can force everybody to be mediocre. You can force people to comply. You can do a lot. You can work very hard and make sure people memorize Shakespeare. You can actually do that. But you cannot force everybody to become a Shakespeare. That takes some interest, passion, talent, and the natural-born propensity to do so. And this model does not like that. It used to work. We used to predict what knowledge and skill we need because society changes slowly. It used to work because we needed people who are at mediocre level. We used to work because we want people to be homogeneous. Now it doesn't work because of globalization and technology changes. What we need, we talk about creativity was number one. But creativity, everybody's born creative in some way. But that's just a flash of genius doesn't work. Creativity has to be domain specific. You need to develop a lot of expertise in a specific domain. And now this is why we need different kind of people. And I hope this works. So here's something what's interesting. This is Google. Google has about 14% of employees now without a college degree. And so what are they looking for? You look at some of the people said, how do Google pick their talents? They don't look at your diploma. So they have several standards. The bottom one is expertise. The least, but we call it, well, by the way, the Google guy said something. The Google VP said this: GPS are worthless as a criteria for hiring, and test scores are worthless. This is from, and we found that they don't predict anything. This is actually not new. This is, it's in the 1990s we know this. So what's Google looking for? Expertise. That's the last, remember, least important for them. You go into number 4, ownership means they have a passion, they want to do, which is Michael talks about schooling, about teachers, about school leaders, same thing. Do you want to do this thing? You have a passion. And humility means you have to know. You really don't know enough, do you want to. And leadership means take action, take initiative. And most important is the ability to learn. That is, do you know how to learn? This is one way of talking about these things. So creativity means you have to have passion. You have to be expertise inside. You have to specialize. And again, I want to refer back to Michael talking about Malcolm Gladwell's popularization of the 10,000 rules. If you want to be great in something, you have to spend time. You may be born to have the aptitude, but you still have to spend time to make yourself great at that. If you don't spend time, that's no good. You can't do those things. So when how many 10,000 hours do you have in life? I mean, I know in the Southern Hemisphere you may have 25 hours a day, but that still won't cut it. We don't have many 10,000 hours in life. If you spend 10,000 hours in one domain, you cannot spend another thing. That's something very simple. So if you spend 10,000 hours making someone do this, you won't be able to do that. The example I gave a lot is called the guy called Michael Phelps, I think Baltimore, right? He's Michael Phelps, an American swimmer, came from Baltimore and went to University of Michigan. He had some kind of, I think, ADHD issue, wouldn't necessarily be a best reader. He won 7 gold medals in Beijing Olympic game, swimmer. He is talented. But if you want to make sure he could read before he could swim, I can assure you this guy would still be hooked on phonics in some basement. Won't work. Right? You have to sacrifice something. So today, what we have today, number one thing is that creativity, but disciplined, lots of time creativity. Second thing is almost every talent is of value. Why is Kim Kardashian valuable? People disagreed with me yesterday. I was going to pick some better example. I think she's the best example. I don't even like her, but why is she? This is created by technology and globalization. Daniel Pink used the term called age of abundance. In the age you heard about the term, right? You know what we do in the age of abundance? We consume nonsense. We consume spiritual products. I call nonsense. That's compared to necessities. We used to live in the age of necessity, where we consume action necessary things for survival, like food, shelter, and clothing. That's my village, necessities. Okay, we consume those things. But when we arrive at the age of abundance, we don't. We consume a lot of psychological things, entertainment, art, music, all those things. And one of the examples, again, I gave a lot, is called choice. For me, this is especially striking. In my village, we had no choice. We have, in the morning, we got sweet potato, and in the afternoon, we still have sweet potato. We have choice, you slice it or bake it. That's the same thing. But still sweet potato. It's the same. But when I came to America, choice is from the largest commodity we consume in developed countries, or most wealthy countries. Even Argentina, you have different barber shops, you go different places, right? And you look at the bags you carry. I mean, really, it's you're buying vanity. So when I came to America first time, I went to a store trying to buy something, wash my hair, couldn't buy it. I didn't know what kind of hair I had. No idea. So you have to know you have oily hair, normal hair, dry hair. Do you remember those things? So you go hire a hair consultant, and that's what we do. What are we consuming here? Nothing. That's why do people like Kardashians, football players, musicians become valuable? Because we consume psychological products. Psychological means diverse. A whole diversity. Today, if you go to iTunes, how many songs are there? Do you notice how many artists, musicians? Our biggest problem with the music bands is that run out of names. We don't have enough good names for bands now. It's very problematic. Another issue like restaurant. Food is no longer a necessity in a lot of countries. That's why you pay more money to get less food. You go to a restaurant, more money, but less food you get. And see, we buy those potato chips. How many kind of different flavors we have? It's shocking. That means that this is big shift. Who can create psychological, spiritual, and cultural products and services? That's of value. Another reason is globalization. Kim Kardashian become valuable despite the fact that most people don't like her, maybe 1%, because of globalization. Because 1%, without globalization with technology, nobody watches her, right? That's something. The same thing with football players. If you were only playing for 5,000 people in your village, even if 100% liked you, you're gonna make $1 million. Today, television, YouTube, Vimeo, DVDs. Well, now they don't even use DVDs. Enlarge the base. We got 2 billion people watching soccer game. You don't call it soccer, football, real thing. Football. So that's how it's valuable. So the long tail from the broadened market. So believe this: no matter how bad, how strange you think you are, you will find someone stranger than you on the internet. So there is a market for you somehow. So we enter this market. People call this one. We used to have the special economy of specialization. We have entered the economy of hyper specialization. You have to be great to be valuable, no matter how bad a niche talent might be. Niche talent. So talk about creativity and niche talent. Then the third element, what required to do this, is not only creativity, not only have a talent you're great at, but a sense of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking. With employees take jobs, entrepreneurs create jobs. We need to turn our education from preparing employees to find jobs, job seekers, to job creators. And job creators, we call them entrepreneurs today. They are not only business entrepreneurs. We call everybody needs entrepreneurial thinking. That actually includes, with Google calls themselves their intrapreneurs, people working within an organization. We need the business entrepreneurs, we need the social entrepreneurs, we need the policy entrepreneurs. That's the politicians. Politicians need to be more like to know how to do business, how to do those things. They cannot just go argue. They have to learn how to make better policies. And entrepreneurs, again, they come to a different kind of qualities. The qualities all point back to non-cognitive, confidence, risk-taking, passion, social skills. I like the social capital Michael used, but that's for life too. Social, how do you hang out with those things? So now I'm going to deliver some bad news. Everybody agrees we need this. I think here no one says that confidence is not important. People say we want children to learn how to fail, how to have resilience, how to have confidence. But the bad news is that sometimes this model of education does not produce those things. Sometimes can hurt. So when I talk about Michael Phelps hooked on phonics, sometimes education can hurt. In your hard work to make sure children master content prescribed in our original model, we might have hurt children's confidence, hurt their chance to have social skills. One of the problems in China, everybody thinks Shanghai has the highest. Shanghai has the highest PISA scores. But do you know why China never celebrated the big PISA scores? China never had a big party to celebrate. Do you know why? The reason? China was number one. They did not celebrate. Because they said, well, we don't have a Steve Jobs. What happened to the Chinese Steve Jobs? Of course, he would have a different name, but then that's but China actually had a big question. What happened? Theoretically speaking, China has 1.3 billion people. That's 4 times
the size of the US population. So we should have, on average, 4 Steve Jobs born in China, right? On average, if you think we're genetically distributed the same way, I don't think, we favor American more than Chinese genetically. So something happened to that, something. And they think that we've damaged there. We've damaged it. That's the issue. Actually, there's another kind of set of data too, is that when you have a lot of, do you have Chinese, Asian kids in your schools? No? If you, well, but you know the story. Asian kids are considered model minority. They go anywhere, they score very high. So that's why it's not the Chinese education system does better. Is the culture, Asian culture. There was a big study on the PISA. You may not know about the PISA. PISA is an international test of 15-year-olds. Students, Chinese students in Australian schools and New Zealand schools scored as high as students in Shanghai. So it's not the school difference, it's the cultural difference. So we call them model minorities. But the model minorities are not very happy today, especially in America. The academic scores are very high, very well. And for example, Asian Americans in the US, we got 5% of the US population, but you got 15 to 25% in the Ivy League universities. 24% at Stanford, 46% at Berkeley. We have another great school called the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. People say it stands for UC lots of Asians. But their academic achievement did not result in life's achievement. The Asians are searching, they're so to say, what happened to our academic achievement? We do so well in schools, but we do so poorly in leadership position in life. We don't have the same achievement. What happened there? That is what I call possibly great academic scores, when it's done different ways, may cause damage in life, in other areas, in confidence, in social skills. Shanghai students, for example, they achieve so well because they spend all their time immersed in academic studies. If you spend all your time preparing for the test, preparing for academic scores, you don't have time to play with your friends. If you don't have time to play with your friends, you're not going to develop social skills. That's something very simple, right? It's interesting to look at this. Now, and then we also see some massive amount of data showing that confidence and test scores do not go together. Team scores, for example, the trends in international mathematics study, 2003, countries with higher math scores have lower confidence scores. Students enjoy less and value less. It's 2003. 2011 data, you have the same problem, is that math scores, Korea, Singapore, China, Taiwan, that's Hong Kong, Japan, they score very high, but their students have very little confidence. Do you look at America? American students score very low. They're bad, but they think they're good. So American students have always scored below Asian kids, but they have always been more confident than Asian kids. So this is the problem. This is problem that saved America in many ways. It's that's how we think. That's America now. So if you look at PISA, Finland, again we go back to Finland, and Finnish students score number 1 multiple times on the PISA in science, but the students have no interest in science. And PISA shows the same negative correlation between so-called academic test scores and their non-cognitive abilities. As well, we see entrepreneurship has all negative correlations with the PISA scores. Countries with higher PISA scores, lower entrepreneur confidence. So this gives a very interesting question. What are we going to do if our children in the future, you want them out of the basement? Remember we started by saying that we need to shift our paradigm. We cannot think we are the center of the universe. We cannot think we are still geocentric. We cannot think we're still making stone axes. We have to make different. We need the skills to do something different. Technology and globalization creates new opportunities. Creates opportunities for Suhas, creates opportunities for Kadarshan, for everybody. It demands us to shift to a new paradigm, to make sure children are creative, are great, and entrepreneurial, and the new paradigm shall be like this. A new paradigm is about expanding human diversity. It's about ensuring everybody, every student, is pursuing their interest, their passion, and develop skills in their domains. That every student become great in their own way. And to do this, we have ways to do this. And you have 3 elements in the book we just wrote. And so I talk about this, 3 things. Number 1, well, this is what we do in schools anyway. Today, we are busy prescribing the best curriculum for our students. We are making the guesses. I suggest let's forget about that. Do not try to predict the future you cannot predict. Instead, have faith in that if you are great in anything, everything you do, you will become valuable. If Kim Kardashian is useful, anyone can be useful. But you have to be great. So instead of a national curriculum, a personalized curriculum, a personalized education experience helps every child becomes great in their own way. Follow their strengths, not fix their weaknesses. Just do not fix your weak, follow their strength. By the way, I am a good example of what I preach. Like Michael said, talk your walk. I'm talking my walk. I walk this way. I am Chinese. I tell people, I think I'm a successful professor, but I'm a failed peasant. In China, it did not work out for me. I was the worst farmer in my village. So my father said, go away, go to Argentina, they'll take care of you. That's how I started the whole thing. And also I've been very bad at math, so I just ran away from math. I began to learn English. So there are no problems that's so big you cannot run away from. Just run away. Just strength. Develop strength. Do not fix deficit. Number 2, today with today's technology globalization, we need to immerse our children in making real products, meaningful products, to practice being a good entrepreneur. A good entrepreneur is someone who have ethical standards, who works on identifying how their strengths can be used to serve other people's needs. In your schools, you have some of the best students. You have a lot of wealthy parents. You have the best endowed students. I've used a term, I call them you have the happiest ovarian accidents in life. They're very good. But they need a purpose in life. Their life, do not spend 12 years preparing for some silly test, some college. Spend 12 years practicing how to use their strength, develop skill to serve other people. And if they did so, if they become really great, become creative, entrepreneur thinking, they will be valuable. They will not be in your basement. You don't have basement, but they don't. They will not come back. You want them to come back too, but they will be independent. So the third element, since we live in a globalized world, we need a globalized campus. A children's learning setting is no longer your classroom, your school. They can learn from and with anyone from any globe. So I want to end this to say, our new education paradigm is one that enhances strength, not fix deficit, engage children in making authentic products and services to learn to become great and identify needs and serve other people, and all of this happening in a globalized setting. So one sentence, our children can and will be provided the opportunity to learn from, with, and for others anywhere on the globe. And to make this happen, you want to know, well, how can we do this? Many people ask me yesterday, how can we do this? There are several things you can do. Number 1, come to my talk tomorrow. Don't go home. Or if you don't, just read my book. It solves all the problem for you, okay? That's the whole thing. It can be done, it has been done, and read the book, or talk to me, and actually, anything else? No, that's it. So this is, to summarize, to end the whole thing. What I'm giving you today is not something necessarily you can do tomorrow, or getting home. It is ready for you to think about your children, where education is heading. Let's not do the wrong thing more right. Let's try to do the right thing. Thank you.